Hello everybody and welcome into Talladega Superspeedway, live tonight with another edition of the NOMA Manny Rays Truck Series. We got a good one in store for you here tonight. Final race before the break that will lead us to the playoffs. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. While qualifying is complete, that means drivers are down track side as now they're just getting ready to get rolling. So let's get right into it tonight with your starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be Grant Turner in the 93. He puts down a 54.765. Rolling off on his outside for Venom Racing in the number 33 truck, it's going to be Zach Stevens. Matthew Fritz will start back in third with Joey Hickox to his outside in fourth. And it's Robert Gray in fifth with Justin Parham in sixth. Chase Greer back in seventh with Jay Stinson in eighth. Sam Boutwell in ninth, and Jonathan Herbert rounding out your top 10. David Traylor will start back in the 11th spot. To his outside in the 74, it's going to be Jake Bustos. Rounding out the field in the 34 truck will be Jesse Calloway here tonight. Taking a look at your race info, it is the Rhino Linings of Bristol 240 here for the NOMA Truck Series. We talked about going to be 90 laps. That'll be the distance here tonight with 75% fuel, 5 sets of tires, including the one that you start this race on. One faster pair of fixed setups as always, and there will be 2 stage breaks. First one will be at the conclusion of lap 20. Second one will be at the conclusion of lap 45. We've also got 3 green-white checkers if we need them. Weather outside 73 degrees, 49% humidity, clear skies, winds at a mile an hour around this 2.65 mile High Bank Super Speedway oval. Track temp for this race is going to be starting out at 96 degrees, so not going to be super hot and slick. Handling may not be a big issue, but that doesn't mean we're still going to see a lot of guys, or we're not going to see a lot of guys still getting out of shape, especially with what's on the line here tonight and all the pushing and shoving that you can do in these Craftsman trucks. All right, so let's briefly just remind you of what that format's going to be here tonight. The biggest thing different, I mean, it's still a race. We still have stages. There's still points in the air, but the biggest difference about the race here tonight is if you win, you are in. So for any drivers that are outside the top 16 looking to fight their way in, this is the race that you somehow find a way to make it happen at. Question's going to be, who gets that job done here tonight? Zach Stevens, Grant Turner, 2 drivers that would love to grab a win here on a super speedway tonight, but they're going to have to try to take it from one of the best. Joey Hickox, he's in row 2, and the 29 of Matthew Fritz, his teammate. Those 3 will be working together here off the start. All right, here we go, rolling up into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is in the air. We are underway at Talladega. And caution is out just as quickly as the green flag flies. As trouble further back here, got to believe this was an issue that kind of got sparked on the restart. We were just getting ready to go to our kind of non-stop pure sound first lap where we just show the different camera angles around the track, but looks like caution will interrupt that sequence. So as we go back here, let's just take a look at it. I mean, this was pretty much just after they crossed the start-finish line here again to take the green flag, but the trouble is going to start basically right as they work into the restart zone. Let's hop to the zoomed-in view here. And watch, is there a bit of a checkup? In fact, we'll go to the chopper view, do you one better. Watch this inside line here. That's exactly what it is. Big stack up. And I was trying to figure out exactly who that was. They kind of started or initiated that stack up, if you will. That led to all the trouble for everybody else. Let's back it up again here and see if we can get a better idea of exactly who this was. And the inside there on the 92 machine, that's Robert Gray. And I think he's just going to miss a gear here, I would have to assume, or he's in the wrong gear to try to start. Let's take a listen here. So he's going to get on the loud pedal. He's on the right gear initially, but yeah, he just misses a shift. Either forgets to shift or misses a shift here. Take a listen again. Yeah, that's a miss shift right there. That'll tell you exactly what that is. So remember, these guys use H-pattern shifters. To shift from first to second, you pull the lever down. To shift from second to third, you got to go up to the side and then up. And so what he probably did was just accidentally hit it straight up, and so it shifted back to first. That's why you heard the engine really rev up, and that's why, of course, he was not able to get going. And that's what led to really all the calamity and chaos behind here. Is watch this for Chase Greer. Good news for Robert Gray was even though he had that issue, he actually got out of the way. The problem was the 47 of Sam Boutwell is going to run into Chase Greer, who had to check up. Chase, of course, had no other choice, but as he does check up, 47 not quite able to, gets into the rear of the 8. That sends him into Jay Stinson. So it collects 2 of the Venom Racing drivers as the 74 Bustos has to roll to just about a stop, and then Stinson spins to a halt below the apron. All right, let's give you just a few more looks at this one here before we go back live. This is what the starter saw in regards to it. And as they start to spin just around there and go back to the turn 1 entry cam for Jay Stinson, though, got to think him and Chase Greer technically may have had the worst damage from this, but I don't think really either one of them get much, if any, damage right here. I mean, watch this. It's going to be a little bit of damage in the rear, maybe a little damage in the right front and the left rear there for Stinson as well. But then that's it. I mean, nobody else gets hit. They weren't even up to full pace yet. So I think they'll be okay, and this is more or less just going to be a loss of track position, regroup, try to gather it, and we'll try this yet again here now that we've clicked off probably about 3 to 5 laps. If you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Again, you're watching the Rhino Linings of Bristol 240 for the NOMA Manny Rays Truck Series final race to the regular season before we take that all-star break, which is going to be a NOMA doubleheader. Looking forward to that as these guys will race the Indy cars at the Indianapolis Oval and then Charlotte Motor Speedway in the trucks in the same night. So that should be a good one. Looking forward to that and see if somebody can be crowned the double champion. We'll have to see how that plays out. So the other big thing here that we'll go ahead and talk about while we wait for them to get back to green flag racing is 13 trucks in the field. I mean, this is realistically a very small field, all things considered, especially for a track like Talladega. And so then I feel like it's got to kind of beg the question, well, what are points looking like? We know that top 16 drivers are going to advance to that first round. And knowing that there was an opportunity for anybody that won here tonight, to be honest, I thought we were going to see quite a bit more drivers than usual. But, I mean, as it stands, Justin Parham currently leads in points. David Traylor, that's 2 trucks that are good to go, so they don't have to worry about this one. Zach Stevens in 3rd, Kenneth Redinger 4th, Jay Stinson 5th in points, Chase Greer's in 6th in points. And it looks like, I believe it's Mark Beverly sitting back in 7th, followed by Matthew Fritz in 8th. And then from there on back is where the fight really begins. But, I mean, some of the drivers like Bill Hales who were sitting back there kind of around the cut line, you know, for guys that aren't here tonight, it's going to end their chances. Bill Hales is one of those drivers. Now, not sure if, of course, some of the guys are still trying to recover from Hurricane Helene. That's why we didn't have the race last week. And if that is indeed the case, then, boy, again, just really, more than anything, unfortunate timing. As that's going to knock out a lot of drivers who could have had a really, really good shot at this one by not making it here tonight. And so I mentioned, of course, David Traylor being good to go, but he still made the race here tonight. And he's going to see if he can maybe be crowned a regular season champion. He's still got to go against Justin Parham, who is also able to, of course, make it into the field here tonight. So those two are going to be fun to watch, battling it out. 2 different teams. But, of course, actually, last season it would have been 2 different teams. This season, 2 teammates. And that's what makes it interesting because, remember, only one of them can be crowned that regular season champion, but at the same time, it's a plate track. And obviously the goal is to work with your teammates. So we'll have to see how they decide to sort that out at the end of this thing. But as we do get ready to go back green, taking a look at a few of our onboards here tonight, Grant Turner, good to see him back. Grant always carrying an onboard view for us. He's got not only the cockpit cam, but also the pedal cam. And you'll see those pedals getting used quite a bit here at Talladega, contrary to what some people might think. As, again, you're doing a lot of throttle control. Out in front, he's just going to be holding that right foot pretty much to the floor, keeping it wide open. But as he starts to get back further in the pack, that's when he will have to worry about starting to use both of them. There you go. Gives a little salute to the camera as we now go back a few positions more and take a look at our other driver cam here tonight. David Traylor, who got the job done last night in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. And so he's already good to go in terms of the momentum that he's got going for the weekend, but certainly we'd like to see if he can double down here with a win in the NOMA Truck Series. It's the driver out of Conyers, Georgia. All right, so as we now officially set ourselves to get back to green flag racing, you see the lights on the pace car are off. That means we will be going back green this time. It'll be 5 of 90 laps complete, and that'll leave us with 85 laps to go. And by the way, that fuel window, right around 75%. That should get these drivers, if I had to guess, probably somewhere right around the mid-20s in terms of how far you can go on a tank of fuel. You figure 32-ish laps is about a full tank. Take half of that, gives you about 16, and then I would say maybe right around 20 to 25. That's going to be my broad window. In fact, we can maybe trim that down a little bit more once we see this first pit stop. That's going to be my general guess, but I would say watch for guys to make that first pit stop really probably any time between lap 24, probably about lap 28. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. Green flag is in the air. We're back underway at Talladega. This time it's a good restart for the entire 13-car field. Joey Hickox with a little bit of a blink, and now the truck just behind him, that's Justin Parham. He's blinking out as well. The 19 has still not been able to actually fully render back in here. This will make you nervous if you're on that inside. Oh, man, the 19, he is still not loaded back in. This is going to cause a lot of mayhem down the backstretch as the outside's organized, but the inside, they can't figure out what's going on because the 19's nowhere to be found yet. Justin Parham still trying to load in. Every time he blinks out, that line loses a little bit of pace as he continues to struggle. The outside lane is trying to get clear. Not going to be able to do it, though. Joey Hickox was able to hold the 93 of Grant Turner up front. And boy, as bad as this is right now for Justin Parham, I would think the admins or somebody has got to be telling him he's going to have to drop out of this pack here soon if it doesn't straighten out. The 19 not able to help this inside line when the internet's bouncing around. Looks like maybe now it has finally calmed down just a little bit. Meanwhile, up top, Zach Stevens, he'll get clear. Watch for him to jump to the bottom as they work towards turn number 1. And the 33 truck, does he take it? Not quite yet. He's trying to stay up. The 29 of Fritz, his teammates saying, hey man, go down, you got it, take it. And it looks like he finally will. That allows the 93 of Grant Turner to get a little bit of a run. He'll pull himself back clear. Maybe, no, not quite. The 93 won't have the chance to jump up because here comes the 87, pushing the 29 of Matthew Fritz back to even as they work towards turn 3. Still side by side, just one lap under green officially complete. And it's going to be the second one this time around. Zach Stevens leads the inside, and it's Matthew Fritz leading the outside. Jonathan Herbert sits back in that 4th spot. And really, of course, you don't see any third lanes going just yet, and I think it's too early. With a field this small, that third lane in general might be hard to get going unless you've really got probably 3 or 4 solid trucks up in it. So it'll be interesting to see who tries to kind of commit to that lane, who's able to make it work, and who isn't. Jay Stinson, after being involved in that first incident, and not just Jay Stinson, but him and his teammate Chase Greer, sitting back in the 10th, actually make the 9th and 12th positions, as they are right now just kind of riding around. Again, everybody does have a faster car if you need it, but you don't want to have to use that too early at a track like Talladega where you know things have a tendency to get crazy. You know anything can happen at any point, and you know that we have still got a long ways to go. It'll be 8 laps complete when they cross the line this time, and it's still all Zach Stevens out in front, leading the charge here. Zach Stevens, boy, what a season that it's been for him so far. We already talked about he's looking good in terms of the point standings. Big moment right there in the middle. Hold on. They're going to go 4 wide right here, and they're going to try to sort it back out as they're back down to 3, and they'll eventually here kind of shift back down to 2. But boy, what a close call this was through the travel. Watch this. This is up front with, I believe it was it Matthew Fritz? Yes, it was in the 29. He's getting pushed by Herbert, and I think it's just going to be a little bit of a push going south. Watch this. Yeah, right there. Look at that. Herbert starts to get a little bit offset left, and right there tags him in the left rear. That gets Fritz out of shape. He starts yanking the wheel back and forth, and boy, that was one heck of a save from the Catman. Has a nickname on the back of that truck, on the tailgate says. And that could have been disastrous early for a lot of really good drivers. And what this has done now is it's separated the pack at least just a little bit as Fritz is trying to kind of play catch-up here. You see on the track map, they're all still within reach of each other, as in fact, Fritz sits about half a second or so behind the rest of this lead group. They'll get there. Meanwhile, up front, they're 3 wide for the lead now for the first time here tonight, and maybe not quite as far up as the lead as that outside and third line starts to fade now. The 92 of Robert Gray getting pushed by David Traylor. They're going to probably tuck back in behind the 2 of Jay Stinson down the backstretch. And that is exactly what they'll do. There's still 2 by 2, 4 on the inside, 6. Now it's going to become 7 on that outside. Robert Gray looking to the outside again. We'll see if he decides to maybe get a little bit risky again here. And by the way, I mentioned, in fact, the week before that, of course, we saw your race winner at Darlington was Dylan Pauls. The week after that, at Iowa, Mark Beverly got the job done. And then, of course, we didn't have a race last week, but I did want to mention Zach Stevens, who I was kind of talking about, who leads the way. Remember, he got a win kind of late in the season, got the job done at Kentucky in a race honoring his grandfather. And so as cool of a win as that was to see, it was also a very important win for Stevens to get himself into the position that he stands in points here tonight. And knowing that while a win technically would get him in, he's already good to go. Just has to keep that car as clean as he can and go for some extra momentum here as we get ready to transition into the postseason. The outside line now being led by the 3 of Joey Hickox. Meanwhile, that third lane rolling strong again. They've got 4 trucks up, and it's 4 by 4 by 4. Robert Gray, David Traylor, the 2 tandem up top trying to get there. Chase Greer trying to provide some support, and they're also getting a little bit of help now from the 34, Jesse Calloway. And I don't know if Calloway doesn't like what he sees here, if he's going to bail or if he's going to stay in that third. Looks like for now he's staying in the third, but struggling a little bit to get to the back bumper of Chase Greer. That's the driver out of Granite Falls, North Carolina. And so for Jesse Calloway, who sits in the outside right now, he's just taking it easy. And as we saw that third lane really start to prosper for a moment there, it kind of died out really just as quick as it got formed up. I think part of that is that track temp that we talked about at the start of this race, kind of playing havoc for the guys trying to get that third lane going. Remember, these lanes move based off how much pushing the guy in second's able to do, and if he's not getting hot in terms of temps, he can keep pushing. What makes these trucks get hot is when you have that hot track temp, and they have to start pushing for long periods of time. But the track temp's still 95, as it is getting close to, it looks like, about 2:30 sim time. And it will stay pretty much in the midday portions here as we work through the entirety of this race. Speeds will go up towards the end of the race, but track temp doesn't appear will change much. If anything, you would assume it'd go up, as still 3x3. Justin Parham now in the number 19 truck. After those internet issues that he had on this restart, looks like have settled down. He's been able to settle in here and really keep Joey Hickox in good position here. The 3 truck has not been able to get clear of his teammate Zach Stevens, but you got to think that the Venom Racing duo leading this field is feeling pretty good right now. Of course, Stevens on the inside, Hickox in the middle. Stevens has the opportunity to jump back up if he wants to, but it seems like right now he's content with where he stands. Grant Turner going to get another shot at it here. He'll get clear. Can Herbert maybe also jump clear? He will not. Yes, he does. A little bit of a second surge there. Herbert able to slam the door on Hickox. Now Hickox will line the 87 up for a push. And now they're going to jump up to the top of the racetrack. Looked like initially maybe Joey was thinking about splitting that 87 truck. Thought better of it, lines it back up. And here comes that outside line. Watch the momentum that these guys are going to have here down the backstretch if Hickox can get tandemed up. And he can't quite do it there. Grant Turner on the bottom. He will, though. Now Hickox gets to the back bumper of Herbert. And they're going to continue to push and shove down towards turn 3. Zach Stevens, though, still with the advantage right now. By the way, that's a good-looking color scheme tonight for Zach Stevens. It almost kind of reminds me of a Superman scheme with the blue, yellow, and red. And right now, he's looking like Superman leading the field. He's got the MOZA Racing sponsor. And now, are they going to see if they can make an NOMA Motorsports run to the front up top? Wow, look at that. Stinson is going to split his teammate, Joey Hickox. Not sure if that was planned or if that was just kind of a moment where Stinson felt like he was going to wreck Joey if he didn't. But that causes some disorganization. It's going to cause the 2 to have to bail. He'll have to drop low now. And he'll drop back in behind his teammate. By the way, I mentioned when that next fuel stop was going to be. But what I forgot to mention is that they'll actually pit a little bit sooner than that. Because remember, we've got a stage break. The end of stage 1, as a matter of fact, coming up here in just about, looks like, maybe about 6 to 7 laps time here. It'll be 6 laps officially when they cross the line this time. So that's what all the racing we're seeing right now is about. Is these drivers knowing that they're good to go on fuel until we get to that stage break. And then knowing that they're going to make a stop and that there's points on the line. As now Sam Boutwell has shuffled to the lead on that high side. Talked about grabbing stage points in stage 1 here. Stage 2 going to be a similar distance after. Hickox got a push there from Stinson. You saw that truck get kind of skewed to the left there just briefly. And now we're going to see Justin Parham. He'll jump back to the top. Joey Hickox will follow. And I'll tell you what, for a small field, sometimes you wonder, is the racing not going to be as aggressive? Sometimes it actually does the opposite. It makes the racing more aggressive because you know that there's not going to be as much calamity if something goes wrong. You know the guys around you a little bit more, and you know that you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. Zach Stevens, though, still out in front. Grant Turner, he has been pushing here for the last handful, even more than that, laps. And you got to wonder, is the 93 eventually going to run out of temps, or is he going to ever have a chance to set himself up for a move? Jesse Calloway third in line, but it's Sam Boutwell who currently leads that outside. And as we show that view, you can see the 93 of Turner. He keeps getting clear, not by much, but it's enough to potentially jump out of line if he wants to take it. But I think he's just trying to set it up here. He wants to make sure that outside, the middle rather, and the outside line are hot enough on temps that on that last lap, he can push the 33 out to a lead and then maybe try to jump up and fight for some points coming to the stage. And Grant Turner not really in it tonight for the points part of it. He's just looking to see if he can collect a trophy to grab a win, but either way, still feels good to get that stage win and get yourself some track position and maybe get a word up here in the booth with the course whoever gets the job done. So as Boutwell continues to lead the middle, he's going to see here his teammate of Justin Parham try to roll by his outside. If Parham could get clear, that would be a strong duo on the high side, but it's not going to happen here. Just as Parham drew even for the lead through 3 and 4, he now starts to fade again. So Justin Parham, as he fades, that allows that middle to start to resurge. Still only a 3 and 3 trio in the middle and high side. Now they're going to pick up a 4th truck on the top lane. We'll see if that's enough to maybe get that top lane rolling just a little bit better. Now Parham goes to go for a side draft on his teammate Boutwell. Joey Hickox has a decision. Will he split the 19 or will he push? Ducks out for a little bit of air. Now he tucks in behind him as they work down the backstretch. Joey Hickox, we call him one of the best at super speedways, but he's one of the best in general in the NOMA Truck Series. Remember, that is last season's champion. So Joey Hickox trying to make it back-to-back championships, but he knows that the road in the playoffs still awaits him ahead. And again, we talk about late season momentum. Really, momentum at any time this season can kind of spark that fire that you need to go fight for that championship. But, I mean, just getting kind of another win here before the playoffs kick off certainly is going to help boost the morale in that first round. As now we see Stevens fade, and for the first time here in over 10 laps, we're going to see a change of lead on that inside line. And it's going to be the 47 of Sam Boutwell that gets clear, thanks to the assist from Jonathan Herbert. Now they start to get a little bit offset in the middle. That's going to cause some disorganization. Here comes the surge from the top lane. Justin Parham, is he going to have enough of a push to get clear? He will not. Stinson's able to push Herbert, and that's able to keep them even down the backstretch. Herbert now going to try to draw back even. Oh, man, Justin Parham all but had the 87 cleared. Not quite enough, though. And now the inside is going to start to fade as here comes Herbert again with a surge off of 4. And this is where, if you are one of those lead-pushing trucks, you are starting to make that plan in your head. Are you going to save enough temp to push the guy in front of you all the way back to the stage checkered? Or are you going to try to just see if you can push your guy clear, jump up, and make a move to try to steal the stage for yourself? Zach Stevens arguably still has the best temps of any of the pushers in these 3 lanes, as he was, of course, leading the longest. Fresh air going to keep the engine a lot cooler than when you're running just behind another truck and not getting as much air. 3x3, though, now as they work down the Alabama gang backstretch. Parham, Hickox, they are still committed to this 3rd lane. Matthew Fritz and David Traylor up there as well. And there goes Jay Stinson. They're going to bail on the 87 of Herbert. Stinson with a little bit of a late dive out as they were working towards turn 3. Justin Parham tries to give him a push, but now Stevens, he's going to try to make the jump up to the middle. Herbert's going to be forced here to go to the outside, and now they're going to go 4 wide. All right, hold on to your hats right here. Here we go. It's going to be 1 lap to go on the stage. Still 4 wide through the tri-oval. And things are going to really start to narrow down here as they get closer towards turn number 1. Something's going to have to give here if they don't sort it out. Still 4 wide. Herbert stuck in the middle. Now he almost gets into the 93 of Grant Turner. Hickox still on his outside. The 87 starts to resurge. It's Grant Turner who's going to fade. He'll have to jump in line. There they go. They're going to wreck. Justin Parham up and over the 19. Upside down. Now he's going to go for a tumble down the backstretch as he finally lands back on all 4. Caution is out. Stage is over. And official scoring for now is showing Jay Stinson your stage winner, but we'll have to go back and look at the time of caution. For Justin Parham, that's not the way he wanted that stage to end, and it all started with the 4 wide that they had kind of sparked up in the middle of the front stretch and just continued on from there. Let's see here. Watch this. As you're going to see Joey Hickox. Oh, might have been a little bit of netcode there. Here's Parham. You see, all right, so watch Justin Parham here. He's got his left sides on that white line. There's Herbert just above. Does Parham move up? Not really. He doesn't. So I think it's going to kind of start here with, again, they're 4 wide. Everybody's just trying to fight for a little bit of room. And for Jonathan Herbert here, he maybe just briefly starts to come down. And then I think there's a little bit of netcode that starts to catch the 19 and starts to slowly hook him to the right. And then there's going to be a little bit of contact right there. That's really going to be what kind of finishes the job. The 19 gets hooked into the safer barrier, and then as soon as it gets on its side, it gets caught by the air, and up and over it goes. Or he eventually flips back onto all 4. And actually, all things considered, besides the hit he took into that outside wall, that truck may be okay. Continue on without too much damage. Watch it again here from a different view. This is from TV2. There's the hook. And boy, lucky that there were not a whole bunch more trucks collected. I don't know how Joey Hickox misses this, but you see he has to dive low to do so as Parham flips over the 87 of Herbert. Matthew Fritz dives low. He may have just gotten scraped on the right side there. Certainly very, very lucky that that wreck was not a whole lot worse than it could have been. As let's go to the onboard view here for Joey Hickox. In fact, do you one better here? Let's go to the onboard view for Justin Herbert. Or excuse me, Jonathan Herbert. Apologize. And watch this right there. With the contact and dives under a flipping Justin Parham. As we watch the onboard view next for Joey Hickox, who was able to sneak by just to the inside right here. Actually, we'll go to his roll bar cam All right, here you go. And man, that is a wild, wild shot for Joey Hickox to miss that. That is, I mean, as a driver, there's not much you can do when you see that there. If you got a truck flipping over you, it's going to be more about, can you just find a way to sneak by? As this is what the zoomed in shot looked like right here. Let's watch Justin Parham here. Look at that thing. Just immediately lifts up off the ground. And once it starts to go, I mean, it goes in a hurry here. That's part of the new damage model. I know we keep mentioning it, but it's kind of the first time I figured we'd really see it was on a super speedway here in the NOMA Truck Series, and you saw it there. So a wild blowover for Justin Parham is what brings out your second caution of the night as we go back up front now. Chase Stinson being scored as your leader, and by the way, we should go back to this time of caution here and look to see who exactly was out in front. Best way to time this is probably going to be right about here. Let's see. 19 gets turned. There goes Parham into the outside wall. And so caution's got to be out sometime right around there if I had to assume. And if that's the case, it appears that Zach Stevens would actually be your stage winner. And so with that being the case here, let's see if we can maybe bring him up here for a quick word. All right, here we go. Zach Stevens. Zach, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you.
Well, we just had to make sure we got confirmation that you were indeed the stage winner. And, well, we saw a lot of three-wide action there, but you were able to get the lead early, led for a little bit, and then were able to find your way back to the lead there towards the end. How have you felt about the action in the pack so far?
That's typical Talladega, people moving around trying to get up to the front. I'm just trying to stay up front most of the race, see where we are at the end of this thing. I was able to get to the outside of Sam and get the lead back there, and then the caution came out. So that's what I wanted to do. I figured caution might come out, so I was trying to get at the front of the field before that happened.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you know, we're getting ready to get back to green flag racing here, but before we let you go, we know that your point situation, you're good to go, you're getting ready for the playoffs. So what does that do to the mindset here tonight? Does it become a race where you're really just looking for the win, or do you still try to go out there and grab as many stage points as you can?
Well, my schedule's changing, so I'm only going to be racing every other weekend now. So for me, it's just trying to win every race. I know I'm in the playoffs, but the more I can win, the more stage points I can get, it'll help me moving forward. So I don't know where we'll end up in the points at the end of the season, but every race I get to race, I'm going to try and win it.
That's the best mindset to have. Well, hey, Zach, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the Stage 1 win, and we'll see if we're talking to you again at the end of Stage 2.
I appreciate it, Austin.
All right, there you go, Zach Stevens. And says with the schedule changing, so unfortunately, well, maybe not necessarily, but I have a pretty good feeling that would end his chances of making it all the way to the championship, but not necessarily. We'll keep an eye on it, but of course, missing a week is just, I mean, it's detrimental, especially as you get into the later rounds of the playoffs, when each race is pretty much a fight and a grind to try to get as many points as you can in order to have a chance at making it to the next round. And so, with lights being off on the pace car, we'll be going back green this time. Up front, it's Jay Stinson on the inside with Zach Stevens on the outside. How about the 34 of Jesse Calloway? He'll be starting on the second row here alongside Grant Turner. And it's Matthew Fritz and Chase Greer back in row 3. All right, so it looks like it's going to be exactly 22 laps to go here for Stage 2 when we grab the green flag this time around. And so in terms of fuel mileage for most drivers, that's going to be pretty close. That might be why you see the single file line for some of the drivers that decided to go in and top off to make sure that they would be good to go here for the stage. And then that'll set us up for probably right around a 40, maybe just a couple more lap finale for the final stage of this race. All right, so here we go. Field back in the hands of Stinson and Zach Stevens. Venom Racing will lead the front row as we work back up and into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega. And it's a good restart for the two of Jay Stinson and the 34 Jesse Calloway. Immediately there to give a push to the back bumper of Jay Stinson. Grant Turner on the outside, though. He'll try to push Stevens back even as they work through 1 and 2. Nothing doing just yet, though. The 34 Jesse Calloway not able to stay locked up, but the outside two are. Grant Turner still pushing. Zach Stevens, the 33, is going to have a lot of momentum here down the backstretch. Is it enough to get clear? Yes, it is. Zach Stevens will get clear about halfway down the back, but he's going to stay up for now. Watch for the 33 to jump down here once they work into turn 3, and there he goes. He'll jump down in front of his Venom Racing teammate. And now that'll put Grant Turner back in position here to lead the high side. When they cross the line this time, it'll officially be 25 of 90 laps complete. This would have been the lap that we were expecting to go back green if we wouldn't have had the caution just before the stage break. And so the 92 of Robert Gray, he's ready to get right back to where we left off with the 3-wide action as that 92 truck is trying to get a little bit of a side draft here on Matthew Fritz. He'll get one, but he doesn't have any help, at least not yet. But here we go. David Traylor, he's going to try to help this 92 on the outside. And for Jonathan Herbert right now in the middle, nowhere to go just yet. He's going to have to stay tucked in line. Will he try to go 3 wide to jump in front of that 92? Doesn't look like he will. Instead, Gray and David Traylor are both going to jump down to the inside of the racetrack. So as they jump to that middle line, up front, it's still a 2x2 drag race through 3 and 4 here for the lead. Doc Grant Turner would have been able to get clear right now off the pushes he's getting from Matthew Fritz, but so far it's just not quite been enough here, and that's kind of been the case here tonight for that outside line a few times. I mean, we saw in that first stage, Zach Stevens, he led this inside for quite some time before the next truck on the outside was finally able to get clear to make something happen. And so Turner keeps getting closer and closer, but still nothing yet is... Boy, that looked like a brief hiccup, and now the inside will lose enough momentum that Turner's able to get clear. Matthew Fritz will have a chance to cool off on the outside. He's still working with his Venom Racing teammate, Chase Greer, but after him, there is no help, not yet. They're waiting on help from the Cavalry, the 92 of Robert Gray, but they're going to have to wait a little while. Not long, though, because here comes the 33, Zach Stevens from Venom Racing. He'll now jump back to the outside. Stevens, he wants a race win, but he wants a little more than that. He's going to get out here and try to lead as many laps of this race as he can. And as the 33 gets back to the outside, Stinson will now fill in the gap. He's going to be the lead pusher for Grant Turner. And very important that any chances you get to cool down the engine temps of these trucks, you got to take. And the best way to do that, I know a lot of people might be curious and say, well, what do you mean by that? How do you do that? Well, it's pretty simple in these trucks. As long as there's enough spacing between everybody, if you start to run hot on water temp, you just simply duck out to the left a little bit, get a little cooler air coming into the left side of the grill of that truck. If you need to cool your oil temp down, you want to duck out a little bit to the right. The best way to do that sometimes when you start to get really hot is when you get into the turns, just offset just a little bit right. If you're not pushing the guy, just get a little bit offset right. That'll cool those oil temps down so that you have enough to push down the straightaways. But you got to be careful because especially as we get into the later portions of this race, guys start to push a lot more aggressive, and when they do that, what starts to happen is the lanes start to squeeze each other, and if you try to move out of line to cool a little bit, you could be in danger of hooking one of the trucks on that outside line. So still 2x2 up front, further back, kind of this second group. Looks like Joey Hickok's currently the last truck in that pack, is all 13 trucks that started this race are still running on the lead lap and with the lead pack. As David Traylor's in 12th, there's Jesse Calloway in 11th, followed by Jake Bustos in 10th, Justin Parham in 9th, Sam Boutwell 8th, and then Jonathan Herbert and Sam Boutwell, really kind of both the two last trucks in this lead pack, as Robert Gray is going to try another jump up to that third line. No help yet. We'll see if Sam Boutwell decides to try to work with this 92, or is he going to stick to the middle? Looks like he's content to stick to the middle for now, and that'll leave Robert Gray to fall to back as they work into turn 3. So they're about 3 wide for the 7th to 8th position. Meanwhile, up front, single file now for the first 3 to 4, as that outside groove, the middle groove, if you will, being led by Matthew Fritz, has lost all of its momentum. We'll see if Fritz ducks in line here behind Parham, or if he tries to stand that outside and stay committed for now to see if he could potentially get back up here and have another chance at fighting for that lead. And for Fritz, I mean, Chase Greer has been there to help. That's not the problem. The problem is they haven't had the third truck. You've got to really have 3 to go forward. 2 can kind of maintain, and every once in a while you'll see them make a brief surge. But, I mean, overall, the general trend is you got to have at least 3 trucks to go forward at these big drafting tracks. And now they'll have that plus a little bit more as Jonathan Herbert jumps up in front of the 29. And good thing he did, because further back, the other help they were getting ready to get has bailed out. So it's now Jonathan Herbert, along with Matthew Fritz and Chase Greer leading the high side. But on the bottom, it is still all the 33 of Zach Stevens currently leading the way. Stevens out on point. Grant Turner in second. Then you've got Jonathan Herbert back in third. Jay Stinson still on the inside. Matthew Fritz, the 29, he's got fresh temps, and he's been trying to get this 87 all the way back to the front. We'll see if he can do it, but as they stay 2x2, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the night. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. We'll be right back. Stick with us at Talladega.
played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, host of tonight's action. The Rhino Linings of Bristol 240 here for the Manny Rays NOMA Truck Series. So far, so good here in this second stage. No cautions as of yet. And you saw all the action there while we were on break with the side-by-side view. And out in front at the moment is Chase Greer in the 8. Matthew Fritz still leading the outside with his teammate Joey Hickox pushing him. When they cross the line right here, it's going to officially, looks like, be 12 laps to go here in stage number 2. Remember, lap 45, the end of lap 45 will be the conclusion of the stage. We think that everybody should be good to go on fuel here. It might be a little bit close, but I think at least all the drivers that topped off should be. Now, it is interesting. I talked about some of the guys that were sitting single file. I kind of wonder if part of that was a little bit of fuel saving going on just to make sure either way. They've started to close it back up, and some of the drivers that were riding single file have now chosen to hop into one of these lanes, making it pretty much 2x2 through the entirety of this 13 truck lead pack. As they work off of turn 4, ooh, one out of line, big time. I think that's Jay Stinson, who jumped up in the 2 truck right here. And he's going to jump down. He will not. Now the middle is going to fill in. That's the 93 of Grant Turner, who will take that position. The 47 of Sam Boutwell on the outside. Stinson's going to be able to duck back in on the high line. David Traylor backed up a little bit when he saw that. I got to think that made him a little bit nervous. Jesse Calloway, Jake Bustos there as well. Watch for those 3 trucks to try a late surge. That is 2 Toyotas and a Chevy, but overall, I think that them sitting back here, again, is an indication of something. What that is, I'm not sure. Could simply be that they're just playing it safe. They don't want to worry or have to worry about getting in an incident. And at the same time, it could also be a sign of just maybe a little bit of fuel saving going on. Either way, they have not been fuel saving at the front. Matthew Fritz was able to get back clear, and as he jumped down, looks like Chase Greer now will think about jumping up. No, just ducking out to the right, as we talked about, to cool that oil temp down a little bit. And so now here comes Zach Stevens in the Superman number 33, MOZA Racing Chevy Silverado. Joey Hickox, you notice how these trucks like to fishtail around just a little bit when they're pushing. That's just kind of the way they work. The harder you push, the more the truck kind of wants to dance around left and right. And you got to be careful, because where we start to see some of these issues is when you get too far offset too far offset left or right. Now down the straightaway, you can get away with a little bit more than you can in the corner. And if you're going to get a guy offset in the corner, you've got to try to make sure that it's offset right and not offset left. Well, I take that back. It's kind of a double-edged sword. You get him offset left, he's spinning down. You get him offset right, he's getting right hooked into the wall. So really, you want to just make sure you got him square pretty much at any place that you're hitting him on the racetrack. And either way, so far, everybody's been doing pretty good here tonight. Only incident that we actually had, I mean, we technically had 2. One was a restart incident, is hold that thought, because we're going to go 3 wide up front. Stevens will be split by his teammate Joey Hickox. And we'll see if Joey can get clear here to try the up and under move here on his teammate. Off into turn 1, will he get clear? It's borderline, doesn't quite have it yet. Not going to get it either, so the 3 truck will be forced to stay even with Zach Stevens off of turn 2. And all that drag racing and stalling out of momentum is going to make both of these lines fade back. It allows the inside to surge. Chase Greer was almost able to get clear to jump up to try to make a move for himself, but I think he's content with pushing Matthew Fritz right now. As a matter of fact, he maybe doesn't feel like there's really any need to try to jump up at the moment. And so for Matthew Fritz, who continues to lead this inside line, he's got a good run going. Joey Hickox in the middle. And then up top, continuing to lead that third lane is Grant Turner. Boy, how about the run he's had here tonight? Qualified on the pole, and he's looked really, really good since then. He's been the lead pusher, he's been the leader, and everything else in between, and he's done a great job at all of them. As we'll hop back on the onboard view here for Grant Turner for just a moment, as we talk about some of those speeds that they run in these trucks. That's really kind of the incredible thing, is just how fast they go in comparison to what these trucks used to be before kind of the most recent update, if you will. So as we continue to ride on board here with Turner, look at the speeds there. The dashboard speeds on the bottom right, I mean 195 miles an hour as they work off towards turn 3. That's borderline faster than the Xfinity cars run. And that's not even, I don't think, the top speeds that we'll see here tonight. Again, those will pick up as the race goes on, especially since, look at this, track temp, at least as of right now, has actually dropped 3 degrees from what we saw last. That will help the speeds pick up a little bit. As up top, 2 of the Hickox Racing teammates, say Hickox Racing, should say Venom Racing, as it's Hickox leading his teammate Jay Stinson. And how about the chemistry that this team has? I mean, we see not all the same guys, but a couple of the same guys that are on Venom Racing on NOMA Motorsports over on the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series. And so when you get more time to work with your teammates, it pays off at every track, but when it really pays off is these super speedways where teamwork is key. The only way you're going to win at a super speedway is if you have some friends. And look at that, the 93 of Turner. He was able to get clear off the push from Stevens. So now he'll jump back down. Zach Stevens now stuck with just Justin Parham in the middle. We'll see if this third lane starts to fill in. Sam Boutwell is going to try to jump up now. Meanwhile, the third lane, Joey Hickox still holding even with Zach Stevens as they work through the tri-oval. And it's going to be 6 laps to go now here in stage number 2. And the stage will end right as they hit that halfway point. Again, 40 of 90 laps complete. Only 2 cautions as of now. And if we were to see another caution at this point, be in danger of it potentially ending the stage. Although it would probably be a 1-lap shootout right now. It'd be if next lap or the lap after we had one, then of course that would most likely end the stage. Parham now, that he's got some support out back, is really able to push this 33 truck. Almost able to get him clear, and he does. Look at that push down the backstretch. Zach Stevens goes back to the point, and this setup starting to look a little bit more familiar to what it was in stage 1. With Zach Stevens leading for a while with the push from Grant Turner. Turner was able to keep this 33 truck out in front for quite a while then. We'll see if he can do it again. Justin Parham missing one of the teammates that's really crucial to that team, and Kenneth Redinger. We know how good he is, and so for him to not be here tonight, it certainly makes the job for not only Justin Parham, but also David Traylor a little bit tougher, as they're only going to have kind of themselves to work with and each other instead of the trio that they normally do. And of course, Sam Boutwell's here, the 47, so he'll be working with those two, as he is one of the Grandstand Racing teammates, but always helps when you got all 4 of your trucks instead of just 3 of them. Either way, though, Boutwell, as we mentioned him, right now he is pushing that 19, trying to get him back even with the 2 leaders. Grant Turner still pushing for all he's worth, and almost gets me a little bit nervous here seeing the 93 push as much as he is, because again, we talked about having some temps for those last couple of laps in the stage when it really becomes who can stick to the bumper of the guy in front of him the longest. But Grant Turner right now, he likes the idea of the tandem, and he's going to stick with it. We'll see if that 93 jumps up here once the outside starts to catch back up. And doesn't look like he's done so, at least not as of yet. They'll stay pinned to the bottom as they work off into turn number 1. It is now officially 4 laps to go here in the stage. Zach Stevens holding on for all it's worth right now. Look at the push out back right there. Oh, man. That gets you nervous every time you see it. Grant Turner, you saw as he lined him up, it was just a little bit offset. Stevens, though, was able to hold on, did a nice job, but watch his steering inputs here. In fact, we'll kind of give you a comparison here. Watch Stevens' steering inputs as he works through 3 and 4. Just kind of slight, but nice and steady wheel of movements. What that tells you is that he's getting pushed really, really smoothly out back from Grant Turner. But if we go to the wheel movements here for Grant Turner, he's moving it around a little bit more. Part of that is because he can't see in front of him, so he's relying on Stevens to drive that line, and he's got to make that adjustment every time he goes to push Stevens to try to make sure that he stays as center as he possibly can. All right, still 2 by 2 now. 3 laps to go on the stage. Justin Parham still leading that outside line. Sam Boutwell, Jonathan Herbert in tow. Jay Stinson and Joey Hickox have faded back and fallen in line. And as they currently sit in line right now, we'll see if they decide to maybe try to make a jump back up here. See if they can't make one more surge before we get back to the stage checkered. Herbert's going to go up the block. Stinson is now going to cross him over back to the inside. And so Joey wants to stay on the back bumper of Stinson. They want to lead this third line. They don't want anybody else trying to get in front of him. And as they jump up here, we'll see if Herbert goes with them or if Herbert decides to go back to the middle. And it looks like, yeah, Herbert says, no, you guys are going to leave me. I'll go ahead and do the same thing. He'll leave them as well. As we now hit officially 2 laps to go in the stage. Stevens still out in front. Turner has backed off the pushing just a little bit now. You wonder if the 93 is starting to run out of temps. Either running out or potentially trying to set up here for this final lap. Boutwell still no help from behind, so he's the sole pusher, if you will, for Justin Parham, trying to keep him out in front here. And he's going to be able to do so at least down the backstretch this time. Watch for that third lane. The further up that third lane gets, the more it starts to pull this inside back. Joey Hickox, Jay Stinson, they get tanded up top. They're going to draw even with the middle off of turn 4. And now the question is, can anybody get even or potentially clear of the 33 of Zach Stevens? Will Grant Turner have enough time and enough of a push to get the 33 and himself clear to try to jump up and make a move for himself? All right, here we go. White flag for stage 2. 1 lap to go. Who's going to get back to the green and white checkered first? Stevens on the inside. Stinson was able to get clear. He jumps to the middle. That'll allow Joey Hickox to cool up top, but the outside's going to fade. So now it's going to start to kind of draw back to a 2x2 battle. The inside versus the middle. Joey Hickox will continue to fade. Don't know if he'll have enough time to necessarily get back up to the leaders here. So watch to see what happens with Hickox here. He's still got the 92 of Robert Gray pushing, but up front, it's all Stevens and Stinson. This is going to be where you line up for that final push. Justin Parham, Grant Turner, who's got what it takes? Here we go, off of turn 4. Stevens has the advantage, but here comes Jay Stinson. Stinson looking for a bit of a side draft into the travel. Will it be enough? Here they come, back to the start-finish line drag race, but it's going to be Zach Stevens for Venom Racing who takes stage 2. He will sweep the stages. All that leaves left is the race. And what a job and what a finish for the stage 2. Let's go back and look at that photo finish at the end. Boy, tell you what, if we get anything like that for the finish, we are in for a good one. Let's watch this. I'm going to cross the start-finish line here. We're going to slow it down for you. It gets it by probably about half a truck length. Distance between Stevens and Stinson. Nicely done. All right, so as the field will group back up, catch the pace car, go down for full fuel and tires. We're going to go ahead and take another quick break. We'll go side by side, and when we come back, we'll see if we can maybe talk to your second place finisher, just because, you know, we had a chance to talk to Stevens at stage 1, so let's see how Stinson's feeling. We'll hear from him when we come back. Stick with us at Talladega.
played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble around Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway with the Bristol Linings, or excuse me, the Rhino Linings of Bristol 240. And I apologize for some of the mix-ups that we've had here tonight. I've mixed up a few things. I know I accidentally said Justin Herbert earlier. Said mixed up the sponsor of tonight's race, and apologize for that. A little bit of a rough weekend, so a little bit tired tonight, but I mean, the action that these guys have been putting on for us so far has been more than enough to keep me excited and keep me wide awake right now. As up front, after the pit stops, it's Sam Boutwell in the 47, followed by the 93 of Grant Turner. Then you got Justin Parham in third and Jay Stinson in fourth. Jonathan Herbert currently rounding out your top five. Well, your stage winner was Zach Stevens. We had a chance to hear from him in stage one. So let's see if we can ring up your second place finisher in the stage, and that was the two truck of Jay Stinson. Hey, Jay, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, what's up, Austin?
Good. Well, right now you find yourself going to be restarting here inside the top five, but you brought home second there on the stage. It was a pretty close finish. How'd you feel about the way the truck drove there towards the end of it?
That was good. Yeah, I had help from Joey on the top side, pushing me up there, and then had to get clear so he could get a little bit of air. And then Justin pushed me the rest of the way. We came up a little bit short, but I appreciate those guys pushing me to a second.
Well, now that we've got the first two stages complete, going to be a lot longer distance to run here in the final stage. How does this kind of change the mindset now, knowing that you still got to make at least one green flag stop?
I just try to work with my teammates and see if we can time this the right way and get out and use a little strategy to our advantage if we can. And see if we can get one more stop and then take it home.
Sounds like a pretty good plan. Well, hey, so far so good. Congrats on the second place finish there in stage two, and we'll see if we're talking to you at the end of this race.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Austin.
There you go, Jay Stinson. That's going to be the key right here, in my opinion, is maybe, you know, obviously you want to try to get to the front, right? But get yourself with your teammates. Get lined up and make sure that you know who you're around when it comes time for that first green flag pit stop. And I said, you know, potentially at least one green flag stop, but realistically it should only be one stop, assuming that we don't go into every green-white checkered, in which case then maybe it gets a little bit close, but even then it might be good to go depending on how much you save. But point being here, we're going back green this time, so it's going to be 41 laps to go. If you can make it about 20, well, technically you're going to have to make it 21 laps on one of the runs, 20 on the other, but they should be able to do that. They were able to make it there to the end of stage two, which was at least 20 laps, actually a couple more. So yeah, everybody should be good to go on fuel to make this a one-stopper. And that means it will be the money stop. We'll see that pit stop right around the halfway point in this stage. And so we would expect to see that final stop then. That'd be right around lap 70. And until that point, I think it's kind of two choices. You're either trying to go to the front to see if you can get some laps led and be up front for the pit stops, or you're fading to the back, trying to get grouped up with your teammates and just seeing if we can click off some laps here to get to that pit stop. All right, here we go. The iRacing.com pace car will make the left turn as it will head back down to the pits. Justin Parham, you saw a little bit of a blink there as he's going to try to fill in the gap here. He'll be pushing his teammate. Grandstand Racing 1-2 on the inside, and then it's Grant Turner, and then one of the Venom Racing drivers, Jay Stinson, on the outside. Here we go, back into the Geico restart zone. Final stage at Talladega is underway. 50 of 90 laps complete, and it's a great restart for the 47 of Boutwell. Not so much, though, for the 19 of Justin Parham. He's going to get left behind as the 93 will clear. Jay Stinson in the 2 almost going to clear, but he will not be able to. Parham starting to drive back now to the back bumper of this 93 truck. The 29 of Matthew Fritz. He's going to get locked up with his teammate here. He'll try to make a bit of a resurgence down the back. Now Parham's going to jump to the top. Stinson will push. 2 versus 4 up top. On the bottom, Boutwell and Grant Turner trying to hang on. They will. They need a little bit more help, though. And now here comes the 87 of Jonathan Herbert as he will jump to the inside. And for Jonathan Herbert, boy, he would love to find victory lane here tonight. We see him run not only in the NOMA Truck Series, we also see him run in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series, and also we see him run in a lot of the Money Racing Series that we broadcast for. And the thing about the Money Racing Series is they only head to 2 tracks, Talladega and Daytona. So Jonathan Herbert, he's one of the best when it comes to super speedway racing in the series. He's gotten a lot of experience, especially over the course of the last year or so. Boy, he wants to get one here in the NOMA Truck Series here tonight, and to do so, it's going to be all about making sure that he has himself in good position and sets himself up for that final green flag pit stop. For Jonathan Herbert, he is not on a team this season, one of the independent drivers, and so the best thing he can do in terms of trying to find guys to work with here tonight is just try to make some friends now, and then hopefully your friends remember you later on in this race. So when they cross the line this time around, it'll be 52 of 90 laps complete. Up front, still leading the way, it's Sam Boutwell, the 93 of Grant Turner. Boy, I'll tell you what, Grant Turner, I mean, he's proven that maybe tonight he's been the best pusher, arguably. I know we just mentioned Jonathan Herbert, how good he is, but, I mean, we've seen Turner doing the lead pushing on this inside for quite some time. He was able to keep Stevens out in front for a while. Now it seems like he's able to keep the 47 of Boutwell out in front. And so for the 19 of Justin Parham, he's going to have to try to find a way to get a little bit more help or stack it up, something out back here, because this outside, they were starting to fade, and I don't know if Stinson needed to cool or what, but looks like further back, they've seen enough. They're going to try to get a third lane going. The 92 of Robert Gray, he'll get some help here from Joey Hickox. And just as they jump out, the middle line started to surge again. Justin Parham is going to be able to get back up alongside the 47 of Boutwell. Stinson alongside the 93 of Grant Turner. And they're really going to probably need at least one more car in that top groove. Watch for maybe Fritz to see if he jumps to the third. He will not. Further back, David Traylor. He's going to wash all the way to the top of the racetrack. Not sure exactly what that was right there for the 54, but seems to be okay, and he'll jump in line. Maybe just wanted to make sure that he could ride around at the back of this pack. And so as David Traylor falls back a position here, we'll hop back on board with him. Again, he is one of the drivers that we have carrying an onboard view for us here tonight, and maybe not as exciting to look at that view right now, but when he's in the middle of 3 wide at the end of this race, and it certainly will, as I think he's just keeping his distance here, running back with Jake Bustos. That is 2 Toyota Tundras that might be working together a little bit here, just kind of watching the action, but, you know, not one to get too close. Meanwhile, this is the view that is more exciting here. Zach Stevens stuck in the middle of 3 wide, Robert Gray on his outside. And boy, you can see with just how close they're running, you have got to hold a really, really steady wheel. You start to put just a little bit too much input, and that's going to spell disaster. So for Zach Stevens, who's stuck in the middle, he is trying to get back to the front where he has led arguably the most laps here tonight. It's been close, but I believe it has gone to that 33 truck. Either way, if he hasn't led the most, what it has been is he's been on the front row probably for the most of them. As here comes the 92 of Robert Gray yet again. Joey Hickox still the only truck pushing, but look at the effort out of the 3 truck to try to get this 92, even with the 2 leaders here. Justin Parham has faded down to the bottom lane with Jay Stinson and Sam Boutwell, as it's Matthew Fritz and Chase Greer now leading the middle. So as they come around here to take lap 55 of 90, the big thing that I would probably keep an eye on here is at what point do they start trying to line up to go to the bottom. I think that you don't really need to do it until we're about 5 laps or so away from that first pit stop. Maybe that's when you start to try to get organized. But at least as it stands right now, no reason to do that, at least not yet. And so the 8 of Chase Greer, who sits second on the outside, going to keep pushing Matthew Fritz here with the hopes to get that 29 clear. Nothing doing just yet, though. And we talk about the end of this race, things getting more chaotic and all the 3 wide action, but I mean, how about the chaos that we're going to see next week? We still got to talk about the schedule, though, so I guess I'll hold off on that thought for now. As further back, Hickox and Robert Gray have finally been able to jump back in line. Looked like Joey was taking a couple peaks, but I think he's going to cool down here, try to reset before he jumps back out of line. And so the proof has kind of been in everything we've seen here tonight that that 3rd lane, it's doable, but you really got to be lined up, and you got to have some really good pushers up top, especially since now, as we see it there, the track depth has cooled down even more, as it's now down to 90 degrees. It's about 5 degrees down from where we started this race at. As in sim time, it's about 3:11 now. So as the sun continues to get further and further down, or rather continues to set further and further down in the sky, track temp should cool off even more potentially before this race is all said and done. 56 and 90 laps complete. Jay Stinson still in charge on the bottom. Matthew Fritz up top. Chase Greer, the lead pusher. And that's got Venom Racing 1-2 on the high side. And of course, leading the race on the bottom as well. Make it 1-2-3 on the high side as Stevens sitting behind Chase Greer right now as well. And, you know, we've seen some pushing through the corners, but we have not seen nearly as much as I think we're going to see as this race gets late in the going. Because remember, a lot of drivers kind of feeling like there's no real need to necessarily push right now, at least not in the corners. They're just kind of trying to maintain lanes and make sure that their lane doesn't completely die out. But as you get towards the end, it becomes you got to push if you want to go towards the front. So that's when you start to see a lot more pushing in the corners, and that's where things can start to go wrong as Chase Greer tries to line up the 29 to Matthew Fritz right there. Wasn't quite able to do it through 1 and 2, but now he's able to get him down the backstretch. He'll try to draw back even. 57 of 90 laps completed. It'll be 58 when they cross the line this time around. And so for the 29 of Matthew Fritz, we talk about how cool it would be for him to go to victory lane here tonight. I mean, if we look back at this season from where we started, Matthew Fritz, one of the drivers who has not been able to find victory lane yet as this season has gone on, and it's not because he's done anything wrong. As a matter of fact, I mean, Matthew Fritz has been in position a few times this season, but just unfortunately hasn't been able to quite get the job done as of yet. Jay Stinson, he's still looking to see if he could potentially grab his first win of the season. Hasn't happened yet for the 2 truck, but he's in great position right now. Justin Parham, where he stands, he's in good spot to grab another win. He got the job done at Pocono earlier on in the season, but has not gone to victory lane since. And then here we go. Look at that third lane starting to surge again. This time, though, it's going to be led by the 33 of Zach Stevens. And this time, they have got a little bit more organization and a little bit more help. The 92 of Robert Gray, he's out there with the 3 of Joey Hickox. So watch for the 33 here to draw even with the 29 of Matthew Fritz out of the corner. The other kind of factor into this lead pack that we have not seen much of here tonight yet has been side drafting. And I can tell you right now, we will start to see a whole bunch more of it as this race continues to go on. But at least for the moment, everybody okay with giving each other plenty of elbow room and enough space to kind of work around. As here we go, Stevens. Oh man, he almost got clear. You could see him start to drive down. He really wanted to jump in front of his teammate Matthew Fritz there as they worked into turn 1, but he just wasn't quite clear. And unfortunately, he had to bail out of it right there. 3x3 still down the back straightaway. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You're watching the Rhino Linings of Bristol 240 from the NOMA Manny Rays Truck Series at Talladega Superspeedway. Final race before the break and then the kickoff of the playoffs. And only a 13 truck field here tonight, and I almost think that this race arguably has had more action than the last Superspeedway we were at with Daytona International Speedway. Even though the pack is, of course, a lot smaller because they've been dicing it up 2 and 3 wide. It feels like pretty much the entire race so far. And the guys that have led quite a few. Matthew Fritz, we've seen him up front a few times. Jay Stinson finished second in that second stage as he tries to crawl his way back to the front now. And we kind of told you about what the playoff picture was looking like earlier. And remember, it's only the top 16 that can make it into that first round. So with that being the case here, and actually, I want to make sure that I got it up here before I say anything incorrect, but with that being the case, as it stands right now, right around that 16th spot, Jesse Calloway currently just kind of the last man in. He sits 16th in points, so him being in this race tonight is huge for him. Same for Jake Bustos, who is just inside as well. But you look at the drivers that aren't inside the top 16, Brody Benty, Peter Dillon, Evan Schilling, none of those drivers made it here tonight. And, you know, knowing that it was a win and you're in, again, surprised to see that be the case, but, you know, looking for some of the drivers who maybe really needed this race here tonight, and doesn't look like that's going to be as stressful as initially thought for most guys because everybody that's here is pretty much all the drivers that are already in. And so we'll have to see how things shuffle out, but that's almost good because it kind of takes that pressure off. You know that you can go out there and go for it at the end with not having to worry about what happens because you know that you're pretty much already going to be good to go, already locked in. And so right now, for the 33 of Zach Stevens and the 29 of Matthew Fritz, this is still a drag race, but Robert Gray, he's been arguably the most aggressive kind of independent driver here tonight. We've seen him try to get that third lane working multiple different times. A driver out of Killeen, Texas. And now Joey Hickox is going to give him another push here. Looks like the 93 Grant Turner. He's going to now add to the tally numbers for this third line. And so it'll be a 3 versus 3 in the middle versus top. And then they've got a whole bunch more organized on the bottom. Justin Parham trapped third on the inside. His teammate Sam Boutwell trapped fourth on the inside. But boy, Zach Stevens, I mean, it just seems like anytime he has wanted to go to the front, he's kind of been able to do so on command, if you will. And so nicely done there by Zach Stevens. And oh, watch out, Joey Hickox. Boy, He was looking right there. I think he was just ducking out for some air, but anytime you see a truck get offset, always gets you a little bit nervous. You hope that nobody gets turned around. And so as they cross the line this time, it's going to officially make it 28 laps to go here at Talladega. We're going to take another quick break, but we'll be back as Zach Stevens, Matthew Fritz, and Robert Gray continue to lead the pack here at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, as it is now just 25 laps to go here tonight, and starting to see a couple guys single file down to the inside, and that is because we are expecting pit stops here in just about a handful of laps. You saw Joey Hickox there. He was able to dart down. He will now lead the high side as they work off towards turn number 3. The 8 of Chase Greer is still up top, and I said they were starting to organize on the bottom, but it almost looks like there's a couple of trucks debating if they want to jump back to the high side one more time here before we get to this first and final round of green flag stops. And now looks like Chase Greer, he'll be able to get clear. That leaves just Herbert and Robert Gray up high. Jesse Calloway still up top further back as well, but I would assume that he should be able to jump in somewhere in line there towards the back. And for these two, it's going to be go for it or go for broke. You're either going to get to the front here to drop down, or you're going to be going all the way to the back in order to drop down. The 87 of Jonathan Herbert, though, right now he leads the outside. The 3 of Joey Hickox thought about darting up right there, thinks better of it, and so he will stay down for now. The 8 of Chase Greer. Ooh, Herbert. Not sure if he got pushed that line there, or if he just decided he wants to go to the back to try to drop in. But the 87 feeling like he needs to find a spot somewhere and needs to find it pretty soon. Jesse Calloway still there. So still 3 trucks on the high side. Again, I don't think we'll see any pit stops just yet. I think they've got to wait till we get to at least 20 to 21 laps to go. I think any earlier than that, they may be okay with 22 to go, but any earlier than that, I think you're coming in just a little bit too soon and not playing it safe, especially if we were to get a late caution in this race and potentially even an overtime. So the single file action, really the first time that we've seen this for the most part here tonight. I know we said we still got a couple trucks on the outside, but the overall trend of everybody kind of riding in line, this is the first chance that we've had to kind of breathe here tonight, because everybody has just been 2 wide, 3 wide, back and forth. We've seen a bunch of lead changes. We've seen a couple of wrecks, but nothing here since the second stage And, of course, actually, it was before that. Last caution was at the end of the first stage where Justin Parham got sideways and went upside down a backstretch. He was able to use his fast repair and recover pretty well as he's got himself back up to a 7th place running position at the moment. Nobody going to peel down below the double yellow line that time around. Wouldn't expect it to. Now, I would say that over the course of these next 3 laps, that is when I would potentially start to think that we could see a pit stop. Not saying that we'll necessarily see one this time. We may not even see one next time, but I think that the chance starts to really go up here. Maybe it's only one that peels off. Maybe it's multiple. And remember, the drivers that were leading this pack, those are the ones that aren't going to be able to go as far as some of the drivers who are maybe playing it conservative and in the back saving, such as like David Traylor and Jake Bustos. You can see that those two are actually still at the back of this group right now. So as they work down the backstretch for Venom Racing, I mean, what more can you ask for here? They've got the top 5 positions locked up. We mentioned, and Jay Stinson mentioned it, about getting with your teammates here for this pit stop. Boy, they did that, and they executed pretty much to perfection by getting themselves all in positions. Now the big question is going to be, can they all execute when it's actually time to bring it down to the pits? Again, you got to go from nearly 200 miles an hour down to about 55 to 60 in the span of just a short shoot from turn 4 down to the pit road entrance. And so now with 21 laps to go, it'll be coming to 20 to go. I think that we'll see those pit stops either this time or next time, as everybody has now officially, it looks like, single-filed outs. And the only truck that was even thinking about jumping out of line here was David Traylor. And you wonder if that 54's maybe got the mindset of going an extra lap, and that's why he's considering jumping out here. We'll see if he indeed does that. Yeah, the 54 here, David Traylor, he is going to commit to the outside. Watch for Jake Bustos to go with him here. That is the sign of a driver who is probably planning on staying out at least a lap later than the rest of the field right here. And so it looks like Traylor's going to have a couple others jump out of line with him. Here we go off of turn 4. Do we see pit stops? Yes, we do. Going to see at least the Venom Racing drivers peel down here and plus a couple more. Do they all get in clean? So far, so good. Yes, they're all going to get in without any hiccups. That's a nice first round of pit stops. That's what you like to see if you're any of these drivers here. Now the question is, can they all get out as good as they got in? And this should be 2 tires and gas. Wouldn't think that you've got time for 4 here. And wouldn't think that the fall-off's enough where it would be worth it either way. And so as Grant Turner makes his way into that first pit box, ooh, trouble for Robert Gray. He overshot a little bit, and now he's going to have a little bit of a holdup here as everybody else will leave way before that 92 truck's able to. Robert Gray waiting, and he will be able to go. It's going to be close on if he can stay with the leaders here. Meanwhile, back at the front, just 4 trucks left out on track. I would expect them to pit either this time or next time. Probably this time. Although, no, they're going to be able to go one more. So a little bit of a bold strategy call is not all 4 of them, though, will be able to. Jesse Calloway, he did have to peel off this time. He'll break down. Oh, he looped it. Jesse Calloway's going to loop it around in the pits. He'll stay in the throttle here to try to get it back, pointed in the right direction. He does, but that's a mistake for the 34 that we talked about you just can't afford to make right now. And watch this here for Jesse Calloway. It's, oh, right as it looks like he hits another downshift. He just gets a little bit of rear wheel hop. You can see the RPMs right at the bottom there starting to flicker a little bit. Yeah, that's just those rear wheels hopping around a little bit. Truck loops around on him. And so now he's going to need a caution if he wants any chance at getting back with that lead pack. All right, back up front. It's going to be 18 laps to go when they cross the line this time, but we're still waiting the pit stop for the 19 of Parham, the 47 of Boutwell, and David Traylor. And here they come. This will be their final stop as 3 going to be a little bit easier to get in than just, well, not just, but rather the amount of trucks that we had coming in that first group. And looks like they will all get in clean. Traylor with the best stop. He'll get in first, and that's the 47 of Boutwell with his teammate in Justin Parham. They came in 2nd and 3rd. All right, so as we look at the groups that already made their pit stop and how they cycled out here, this is the lead pack that consists of Grant Turner, Chase Greer, and Joey Hickox. And then behind them is Jay Stinson, who sits just about a 1.5 seconds back. He is now within drafting range, so they will catch up to that pack. The big question is going to be, how does this pack fare out with that group that's in the pits right now? Looks like the group that was in the pits is just now leaving, and I don't know if I like this call here. I'd be a little nervous that they may have lost a little bit too much time and those extra 2 laps they ran, because they still have to get up to full speed. And look at that group that is already up to full pace. Here comes the 93 of Grant Turner in 4th. And yeah, they are going to march right around these two. For David Traylor and company, they're going to have to really hope that they can stick to the back bumper of this second pack. Otherwise, there is nobody else for quite a ways, and they are going to be in some trouble. David Traylor, watch as he jumps up here. This gap's going to start to stretch out pretty quickly. Really, he needs some help from behind, but right now he just doesn't have it. And it looks like it's back to 1.2 seconds here. They've got to keep it within 1.5 seconds to have a chance. and they're not going to be able to do it. It now goes over a second and a half, and it's going to actually draw closer to 2 seconds here. Parham now arrives on scene. He'll get to the back bumper of David Traylor. Sam Boutwell's there, and really their best shot is these 3 trucks are all going to need to push as hard as they can for the next few laps and hope that they can get just within that range of a second and a half to catch a little bit of a tow and use that draft to pull all the way back up front to your leaders. All right, so as we do officially start to set the stage now for what to expect in the final laps of this race, 17 to go. It'll be 16 when they cross the line next time. Up front, it's Grant Turner leading the way. Chase Greer second with Joey Hickox in third. Then it's Jay Stinson back in fourth, Zach Stevens fifth, Matthew Fritz in sixth with Jake Bustos seventh, David Traylor in eighth. But right now, it's actually Jake Bustos in the 74, the last truck in this lead group. David Traylor, who sits, it's close. Actually, they may have got the job done here. I've been watching that gap, and sure enough, they did. They were able to get a 3-car tandem going for a lap or two, and they were able to get back within a second and a half. And so just like that, David Traylor, they will add 3 more trucks to this lead pack, and that should make it a 10-truck lead pack to battle it out for the win in this race. That means only 3 trucks got left out of it. Jesse Calloway, who we saw make a mistake, and then Robert Gray, who also had an issue getting into his box. He currently runs with Jonathan Herbert as they run 11th and 12th. And if you look at the track map, it's hard to say if those two will have to worry about going a lap down before this race is all said and done, but for the 13th place running truck, the 34th Jesse Calloway, he is certainly in danger of losing a lap before this thing's all said and done if he doesn't get a caution soon. So we'll keep tabs on that, but the 34 truck, and really Jonathan Herbert, of course, as well in the 87, and Robert Gray, the 3 trucks that are now hoping that these guys get racy and that we can get a caution before this thing is all said and done. Here we go. They're going to look to the outside. Look at this. How coordinated was that? Venom Racing is going to take all 5 of their trucks, jump to the outside of Grant Turner, and they're going to see if they can pull all 5 of them around. Watch out on the outside, though, as here comes David Traylor and Justin Parham taking the run that they had after they were able to catch this group. And that run's going to get them all the way to about side by side with Jay Stinson. Only 2 trucks for now. They're probably going to need a little bit more help. Will the Venom Racing teammates stay all on the bottom, or does Joey Hickox jump up? Looks like they're going to stay on the bottom. David Traylor, boy, Justin Parham almost proving me wrong there. He was almost able to push that 54 truck clear, even though it was only 2 of them. And he wasn't quite able to make it happen, but nonetheless, still a good run right there. And now they're going to start to fade back just a little bit here as David Traylor still leads that outside. Joey Hickox on the inside. Just 15 laps to go as they're 2x2. Watch for this pack to group up, and I don't think we're done with 3 wide just yet. David Traylor gets clear off the push from Justin Parham, and so now he will jump down to take the lead. There comes the push from Joey Hickox. And Joey, you know, right now he's content with pushing, but he's not going to be content to stay there for the rest of the race. The problem for Venom Racing right now is that if they stay how it stands, I mean, they can't just jump to the middle. Parham's not going to leave that as an option. So they're either going to have to try to push the 54 far enough ahead to jump out in front of him. And by in front of him, I should say in front of Justin Parham. Or, well, that'll work too. I was going to say if David Traylor scoots up, that'll work too, because now that puts Venom Racing back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the inside. And so for Parham and Boutwell, you wonder, are they working with Traylor here, or are they going to try to steal one at the end if the 54 is still ahead of them? That could be a big question now as it's just 13 laps to go. We're going to take one more break before we stick here all the way to the finish. Stick with us. We'll be back for the finish here at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. was just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost all trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
We're back to Talladega Superspeedway just briefly here before we go back live to full screen. Did want to show you the upcoming tracks for the playoffs. First off, next week, the NOMA doubleheader. We head to Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy cars, and it's off to Charlotte right after. That will be everybody attempting the double, so that will be a fun one. Make sure you tune in for that, as I assume that won't be broadcast. We'll get that figured out as the week goes on, but look at the playoff tracks. The round of 16 kicks off at Texas Motor Speedway, followed by Kansas and Nashville. Then it's off to the round of 8, which will be at Chicagoland, Las Vegas, and Miami. And the championship for this season will be at Old Atlanta. All right, welcome back now. Full screen live at Talladega Superspeedway. If you're just tuning in, you picked a good time to do so, because we are now in single digits for laps remaining in the Rhino Linings of Bristol 240. They are 3 wide, as now it's going to start to fade a little bit, but right as we were on break and started to come back from break, there was a couple of really sketchy moments. We saw a little bit of 4 wide briefly, and certainly a lot of 3 wide as they're going to catch the 34 Jesse Calloway. He was not able to catch that caution in time, so he'll now fall a lap down. He's going to try to stick with this lead pack here long enough so that if he gets a caution, he can still potentially get that lucky dog. Out in front, it's the 54 of David Traylor, and boy, what a kind of, not a turn of events, but a roller coaster race this has been for him. As, ooh man, the 54, he tried to block right there. He tried to sneak up top in front of the 3 of Hickox. He could not do it. Joey was able to get a little bit higher, and now that lines up Venom Racing. No, actually, I take that back. That disaligns Venom Racing, as Jay Stinson will now have to push the 54, but ooh, Grant Turner tried to clear down with Joey Hickox, didn't quite have it. And so Hickox was able to do the up and under move there on David Traylor, as he now takes over the lead. I was getting ready to say, though, for the 54 Traylor, remember, he set back pretty much all night. This was the first time he came up here to try to lead, and it didn't take him long to do so, but now he's got some more work cut out for him because he is stuck second in line. But if he can get clear the 93 here, watch for that 54 to try to jump right back up to the high side of the racetrack. He's got it now. David Traylor, watch for him to jump up here as soon as Grant Turner starts to get a run back. No, he won't even wait that long. He's going to jump up here off of turn 4. Further back, you can see some of the stack-ups starting to amplify. This is where, as a driver, you start to get a little bit more nervous that we could still see the big one. Hasn't struck yet. We've only had 2 cautions so far to count tonight. We could be getting ready to see number 3. And by the way, this race, again, this will not be declared official until we get the white flag. That's still quite a ways away. So with, 6.5 laps remaining, there's a lot of things that can happen here. And you got to make the decision now. You're either going to the front or you're sticking in the back and hoping that they wreck. David Traylor, Joey Hickox, they're content with trying to stay towards the front. And for Joey Hickox here, if Jay Stinson can keep him in that position on the bottom here until we get to the white flag, Venom Racing has a great chance to potentially sweep at least 2, if not all 3 of the podium positions here as where they stand. But watch for Stinson, if he gets clear of David Traylor, to potentially jump up, try to steal a win for himself, and also try to get control of both of those lanes and make somebody have to split 3 wide in order to be able to get past the Venom Racing teammates. 6 laps to go now. David Traylor still leading the outside, getting pushed by Grant Turner on the inside. It's Joey Hickox and Jay Stinson. When we talk about these 2 that are lined up on the outside, both of them carrying driver cams for us here tonight. David Traylor and Grant Turner. Turner has been one of the best pushers all night, and now he's tasked with pushing that 54 out in front. He was able to do so there. Looks like, though, Traylor likes this high side. He likes the pushing he's getting from the 93 because he does not jump down. Traylor staying up. Grant Turner's trying to look a lane higher. Maybe thought about splitting the 54. He's not going to be able to do it, though, that time around. And so he's forced to stay running in second as the bottom has really started to decimate now. It's only 3 trucks, and only 2 of them are actually lined up. Hickox here is going to continue to fade back. Stinson's trying to hold him even, but you got to think that 2 truck's going to be running hot on temps here sooner or later. That leaves us with just 5 laps to go now. Everybody's good to go on fuel. And as each lap goes by, the intensity continues to ramp up more and more. Pushing starts to turn into shoving. And I think we're going to still see a third lane. Question's going to be who goes there first. I'm looking at the 19 and the 47, the 2 Grandstand Racing teammates. And if they jump up, question will be, will the 74 go with them, or will the 74 choose to go with the middle? Off into turn 3, still 2 by 2, all the way back through the pack. Looks like for now, Jake Bustos decided to go with the high side. Matthew Fritz back there as well. The 29, he was at the front earlier in this race, so don't count him out to potentially be the first guy to try to lead that third line. And I think realistically, I mean, I know it's a small pack, but 2 to 3 laps to go at the latest is when if you're going to go to the front and you're not in these top 2 rows, you got to make your move. I mean, if you wait till the white flag, something goes wrong, you don't get another shot at it. You try to make that move with 2 or 3 to go, it doesn't work out, you get another chance, or if you get a caution, you still get the opportunity to try it one more time. But if you sit here and wait, caution comes out. Well, actually, we know the caution won't come out on the white flag lap, but if you get wrecked on the white flag, of course, you don't get a second take at it, as we will not see a caution. When they cross the line this next time, it'll be 3 laps to go, and that means we just got to complete 2 more laps to make this race official. Got to get back to the white flag, but still a side-by-side drag race up front for the lead. Joey Hickox leads the inside. David Traylor leads the outside. Hickox washing up just a little bit there off of turn 4. And I know handling's not terrible, but remember, this is pretty much the oldest the tires have been for these guys all night. So they are going to, if they're going to struggle with handling, now would be the time, as track temp has fallen to 87 degrees now. And this may be where we start to see some of the top speeds that we have seen all night. We'll keep the dashboard telemetry up on the bottom right for you here down the backstretch. Watch the pushing that we see on these 2 leaders here. Let's see the speed that David Traylor is able to get up to here down the backstretch. And it looks like Grant Turner was able to get locked on there a little bit too late. That allows Joey Hickox to surge on the bottom. He's actually the one that carries a little bit more speed, as he's going to hit about 193 as they work off into turn 3. Uh-oh. Joey blinking out here just a little bit. That is not the time for it now. Jay Stinson hoping that 3 trucks connection can stay strong here for the last 2 laps. Here we go into the trial, and looks like we're going to see a little bit of a different move be made. The 19 was able to jump up top. He's going to get help from the 29 of Matthew Fritz. 2 laps to go. Last lap for a caution if we're going to get one. The 74 of Jake Bustos, he chooses to go up top as well. And now it's 3 versus 3, but it'll go back down to 2 now in the middle. David Traylor was able to get clear, and we'll see if this 54 decides to stay on the bottom now for the rest of this race. Joey Hickox, he's clear that middle, but he doesn't want to go just yet. He's going to wait. Now he has to go because he sees the 19 of Palm with a big run up top. Looks like the 93 of Turner is going to be able to square him up. Are they able to maintain? Yes, they are. Joey Hickox gets clear. David Traylor, as does Grant Turner. They'll both jump down to the inside. There goes Parham. He's going to go to the middle. Fritz gets left up top. Now Jake Bustos goes all the way to the inside. Matthew Fritz trying to jump low. Now there's some contact. Parham and Jake Bustos bang doors, but now they'll get it back together as they work through the tri-oval. Here we go. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go at Talladega. And oh man, look at this. The inside line has gotten dropped. Man, Joey Hickox, Grant Turner, they lost all their help, and all of a sudden, where did the 74 of Jake Bustos come from? He's going to go to the point off of turn 2 with a push from David Traylor. And the inside, all they can do is hope that they get some more help. Nothing else that Joey Hickox can do at the moment. Now we're going to see Jay Stinson. He'll split to the 3rd lane. Parham chooses low. Fritz coming up top. Final time off into turn 3. The outside starts to surge. Does the inside have one more big push? Anything to try to get back even? Final time off of turn 4, short shoot and a trial to go. Here we go. Stinson and Jake Bustos side by side. Both drivers looking for their first win of the season. Bustos, does he block low? Yes, he does. Stinson, he's out of shape. Here we go. Drag race back to the checkered. Who gets here first? Jay Stinson's going to win it at Talladega. Gets the job done by 3/100ths of a second. was holding on for everything it was worth, coming back to the checkered, but it's Jay Stinson who gets the win. Jake Bustos finishes in second, and it's Matthew Fritz who finishes in third. And man, what a finish that one was. Let's go back and look at this as Jay Stinson will bring it around to celebrate. I mean, just through the travel here, look at all the pushing getting done by this middle and high side. The bottom just didn't have enough help out back, so Joey Hickok's nothing he could do, even though Turner was pushing for all it was worth. And right here, I mean, Fritz is pushing Jay Stinson like there's no tomorrow. David Traylor doing the same. And then right here, when it mattered most, Fritz was able to stay just a little bit more lined up. And I think actually what helps him here is that they've got a little bit more organization from the third row. As look at Stevens. Stevens is pushing Fritz, where Parham's not able to push David Traylor at that time. And there is your margin of victory. He didn't get it by much, but got it by enough. So what a win for Jay Stinson. First one of the season, and what a great time to get it. The last race in the regular season. All right, so as he burns it down in front of the front stretch, let's take a look at the finishing results here tonight. Jay Stinson is your race winner. Jake Bustos in second. It's going to be Matthew Fritz rounding out the podium with David Traylor back in fourth. Rounding out the top five is Zach Stevens. Joey Hickok's in sixth with Justin Parham seventh. Sam Boutwell in eighth. Grant Turner ninth, and Chase Greer rounding out your top 10. Jonathan Herbert finishes in 11th. It's going to be Robert Gray in 12th with Jesse Calloway rounding out the field. He finishes in 13th. All right, we're going to go grab your top three for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, going to start first here tonight with your race winner, Jay Stinson. Jay, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, what's up, Austin? How you doing, buddy?
Good. Well, we talked to you there at the end of stage 2, and one of the things that you told us was that it was important to get with your teammates, and you guys did that. You got lined up before the green flag pit stop. Next thing you know, you're pretty lined up after the green flag stop, and most importantly, you find yourself lined up with two of your teammates there coming to the checkered flag. Boy, tell us a little bit about those crazy couple of last laps and the 3-wide move you made and how you were able to get the job done right there at the end.
Man, me and Joey ran a lot of laps down at the bottom, and I was just getting real hot and having to back off, and then Traylor was able to drop, and he got him pushed out there, but somebody else made a move, and then I kind of got backlogged into the back, and I saw an opportunity to maybe hit the middle. And, that was going good, and I thought Parham was going to go with me up top once we cleared, and we both made the move. He dropped back down under his teammate, which I'd have done the same thing. Lucky for me, Matt and Zach were flying high on the outside, and Matt gave you one heck of a shot going into the turn. And then him and Zach stayed on each other's bumpers and mine all the way to the finish. It was a great finish, great team win. I'd like to say that I won this race, but I'd have to say my teammates got me this one.
Indeed. Well, hey, now that you've got that first win of the season, I mean, what a great time to do it just before the playoffs kick off. How does that kind of momentum late in the regular season help you going into the playoffs?
Anytime you can get a win in this league, it's pretty special, and you gotta savor those, celebrate them, and then get ready for the next week. Talladega being a win is one of those unpredictable wins. I'd like to get it at a little bit different track and get some more momentum that way. So we'll see about Charlotte next week, and then I'll feel real good about it. But I just want to keep running top fives and having a good time with everybody in the Discord and enjoying running and having fun.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Jay, before we let you head out here tonight to celebrate the win with your teammates, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Always you for coming out here and broadcasting these things. A little bit light field today. Some things going on, weather, just stuff around this area. So everybody dealing with their own thing. So hopefully we can get everybody back next week and get back to normal. All of our sponsors from Abingdon, Collision and Towing, Manny Rays, like I said, his series been with us forever, so we couldn't do without him. H&H Tractor Works, Flatwoods, Rhino Liners of Bristol on my car and for the series, MOZA, Blue Ridge, just everybody that puts money in this thing so we can do what we like to do on a Saturday. And then my teammates, I couldn't have done this, got this win without them. So I just want to appreciate, Matt, Joey, Zach, and Chase for showing up every week and having a good time and running.
And thank you for talking to us, Jay. Congrats on the win here tonight. You get the job done at Talladega Superspeedway, and we will see you next week.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, buddy.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher, the driver, number 74, Jake Bustos. Jake, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
I sure do, brother.
Well, you come close tonight. 3/100ths of a second was the official gap between you and your race winner, Jay Stinson. But, I mean, man, overall, it seemed like you kind of hung back for most of the race. Next thing you know, we see you up front fighting for the win at the end. Was that the strategy tonight, or was that just the way things played out?
No, that was absolutely the strategy. I didn't want to, ruin my race early and get involved in something. So I just, bided my time in the bag, let everybody fight it out. When we started coming to pits, I knew I wanted to pit with a team, whether it was Grandstand or Venom. I saw Venom dip off, so I jumped in with them. Was able to hang on to them, come out of the pits, and then, rode around till the end. About 3 laps to go, I decided to make a run at it, see what happens, and wound up here with the second place.
Absolutely. And boy, we got a special event next week, a doubleheader. The first question is, are you going to be there for it? And if so, how do you get prepared for that one, knowing we're running the Indy cars at Indianapolis and then going over to the trucks at Charlotte?
It's just, I should be there for it. It's just one of those things. I think the Indy one is going to be the harder one just because of the way the aero is in that thing when you get up behind somebody. So I'll probably just find I don't even know if they do AI there or what, but just get used to driving in dirty air and, go from there. Trucks at Charlotte, I ran trucks at Charlotte so many times, you know what it's going to do. So just riding around and making sure you don't burn the tires off of it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Jake, before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to thank you, Austin. Love the video or love the broadcast. Get ready to go back in, take a peek at that. Jay, Joey, all the admins, Johnny, for putting this on every week. Really appreciate it. It's a very fun league. I don't have any teammates here, so no teammates to thank. I do want to shout out David Trailer. He stuck with me coming to the checkered and was able to push me to that second. So appreciate it, Trailer. I definitely owe you in the future. But yeah, that's about it.
And thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the second place finish, Jake, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Take care.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to the last podium finisher here tonight, and it's another one of the Venom Racing drivers, Matthew Fritz. Matthew, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you bring home a third place finish, but more importantly, you get to push your teammate, Jay Stinson, to a win. Man, it looked like you couldn't push really any harder there at the end. Tell us a little bit about how you were able to get Jay to a win there and what the decision was as a team when you decided to go with him on that third lane.
Well, he jumped up in front of me, and I was happier to see anybody. You know me. I'm pushing my teammates. I love pushing, and I'm always a teammate first kind of guy. And I gotta thank Zach too. He picked me up and he pushed me, and we were just hooked. And I was pushing as much as I can. I was across the line, and temperatures were 290, so it could have blown up any second.
Yeah, certainly looked like it there. And I mean, we thought maybe you were going to have a shot at the first win here tonight. You led a bunch of laps, and, I know you don't quite come home with it, but to push a teammate to a win and still get that many laps led, does it kind of add some confidence and maybe gain you a little bit more momentum going into the next couple weeks?
Oh, yeah, it does. We have Charlotte next week, and it's one of my favorite tracks. So won there last year, and, yeah, I'm excited. Glad to push Jay to a win. Glad to push any of my teammates to a win.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Matthew, before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate with your teammates, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out after the podium finish?
I got to shout out my mom and dad and my grandmother for watching. I'd like to, on a somber note, we lost our 13-year-old dog Monday, Scarlett. Very well missed. I will ask Jay to make a paint scheme, but we all been sad this week, so this helped me out a lot. Got to thank my teammates, Jay, Joey. They do a great job with the league. Got to thank Zach and Chase, and I got to thank Manny Rays, and I got to thank you, Austin. You are without a doubt the best announcer on YouTube that does iRacing.
Well, thank you, and thank you for talking to us, Matthew Fritz. Certainly appreciate it, and again, congrats on the third place finish. We will see you next week.
Thank you, Austin.
All right, there you go. That's going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. Boy, what a great race. I'll tell you what, for a small field, this was one of the best races in my mind that we saw of the season. 3/100ths of a second, too. The margin of victory, I mean, just didn't disappoint in pretty much every aspect. What a great one it was, and look forward to seeing what we have in store for us for the playoffs this season. We have to find out some more information on what to expect next week, but I think as of now, we would assume that there is a broadcast, so make sure you stay tuned in for that. As for tonight, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports, and until next time, have a good night.